Well, this is beyond shocking, so this is very impromptu. Hopefully you'll get this as soon as possible, and it appears to be real. I hope the news is not true, but apparently it is true that Nicholas Brendon, yes, the actor perhaps most famous for playing Xander on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, is dead, apparently of natural causes, and the news just came out. I'm looking at my phone about an hour ago, so that is where we are. Obviously, I'm going to mainly talk about Buffy and its contribution and the controversies, which are still raging about both Xander, the fictional character, and Nicholas and his, to put it mildly, very long criminal record. But let me just give an overview. For those who don't know, Nicholas is actually disabled. He actually has several disabilities, and you would not know that from watching the show. He did a fairly good job, oftentimes with the help of his brother, his identical brother, who actually filled in for one key episode. So, to put it mildly, he's led a very troubled, dark life. I don't know all the details, but I do know, in going through biographies just a couple years ago to prepare for the Buffy continuation, and out of curiosity because of all the controversies, apparently in his background, yes, he did suffer abuse at a very young age. So, again, I'm not trying to excuse what happened. I'm just giving people hints as to perhaps the roots of the behavior. So obviously, he's most well known for playing Xander throughout all seasons of Buffy. From what I understand, he did want to also work on Angel, but Joss Whedon turned down the offer, and so he's not allowed to be on Angel. But he wanted to still work within the Buffyverse, even after Buffy officially ended. He's also done other roles on Criminal Minds and several other key films. But I think it's fair to say that the Xander role is his most notable role. He is a good actor, and he's very multifaceted and multi-talented, as is seen through the dancing and singing on the famous musical episode of Buffy. So why is this such twisted news? Well, I think for a lot of the fandom, and some fans may not be aware of this, but he does have a very long history of, abusing girlfriends and wives, in and out with the law, having many, many controversies going on, and even some rumors with conventions and people who work at conventions that he was arrogant, demanded too much money, a bit of a diva. That said, there's also the other side of Nicholas, which I don't think is highlighted, which, again, even critical essays have noted, he's actually, when he is in a good mood, a very nice person, extremely giving, and very generous with fans. In fact, I know for a fact there's a Buffy podcast, perhaps not one of the biggest ones, but where he freely gave them a really nice little introduction. In fact, they had to be careful with the introduction. It accidentally revealed too much of future seasons, so they had to cut him off. So again, we have the dark side of Nicholas, who was what he was, very abusive, physical, violent, prone to alcoholism and just a lot of addictions. And then the better side, where he could be extremely generous, kind-hearted, generous. And again, I don't want to speculate too much on his personal life, because even now we are just getting the news, so you have to be careful. Was due to drugs, medical conditions. Again, he was getting older. From what I hear, he was functionally disabled. He was barely able to walk sometimes. So it's all very troubling, sad news. And from what I understand, he and Sarah, for most of their lives, are very close and very friendly. But in the last couple of years, apparently they had a huge schism. Sarah has been criticized heavily for not being more critical of Nicholas and being willing to cut him off. But apparently, in the last couple of years, there was some kind of emotional or professional rift, because Nicholas was openly criticizing Sarah. Now, I'm not going to go through the Joss Whedon controversies, but let me just say that, and I can provide receipts for this, guys. So I know some people are still angry and shocked at Joss. Other people don't care. But basically, a lot of these stories are false. They're demonstrably false. That's not to say all the allegations are false. Some of the allegations are true. They have been verified. But some of the key accusations being made were not true or exaggerated. And the people, unfortunately, who made them knew they were exaggerated. But it's Hollywood. It is what it is. And I need to say these things because Nicholas was a very Whedon loyalist. And to put it mildly, Sarah was not. Sarah famously very explicitly tried to divorce herself from Buffy, the Whedon Buffy, but maintained the legacy of Buffy. Nicholas did not. He thought Joss should still be given most credit for what happened with Buffy. And insofar there were conflicts or problems, he sort of said, well, that's just normal, right? They worked long hours. People got on their nerves sometimes. And it was just a very tough time because, again, the episodes they did were very physically demanding, and it's just a very punishing schedule. So he leaves behind several shattered relationships. Unfortunately, we can't wish away his criminal record. It is what it is. I do think he tried to rehabilitate several times, but we also have to be very honest that he often failed, right? He tried to be sober, go back to drinking, tried to stay out of trouble from the law, and got arrested again. And apparently it was very clear with the Buffy continuation, or whatever Sarah wanted to call it, Xander was not going to be a part of it. Many people were not going to be a part of it. Cordelia apparently was not going to show up. I do think probably Willow, as well as, for obvious reasons, Spike would appear, but mainly as cameos. At least from the opening, again, prototype script, we don't even get much of Buffy. Like, Buffy only appears as a small cameo. And if that's what they were going to do with Buffy, then clearly most of the original cast would not reappear. And that is where we are. So, what to do now? Well, to put it mildly, Nicholas has been very heavily criticized for his real-life activities. And it's leaked over to Xander as well. And it's just going to be a continuing debate among the Buffy people, where he was a very beloved figure in the 90s and even early 2000s. Now, with the Me Too movement, right, Sarah distancing herself from Joss, the Joss Whedon scandals. And we just know much more about the production. We know many good, quote, fun facts, but also disturbing information how Buffy was made. And so Xander's reputation has heavily declined. I've always been sort of in the middle with Xander. He's not my favorite character. I think his stories overall are, below average. But he is a critical part of the show, critical part of the mythology. We can't wish away his existence. He is vital to many stories. But many female fans, and not only female fans, have noted that it's pretty conspicuous that as a male character, he often screws up, does very questionable things, and does not suffer too much. He does suffer significantly in Season 7. I don't want to spoil that for the new people, but I think it's fair to say he does suffer greatly in Season 7. But Season 7 apart, yeah, for the most part, he's not heavily injured, he's not heavily traumatized, whereas comparatively, the female characters are, whether Willow, Tara, Buffy, right, Dawn. I mean, Dawn technically, although she wasn't really a human. But anyway, Season 5 is kind of weird. So people have noted sort of this gender bias with Xander. Is that really there, or is this something that's now a product of fan backlash? I don't know. And I'd have to dig deeper to see if this is the fans imagining things there. I think, to put it mildly, all the Buffy characters have, to put it mildly, their downside and upside. So it's unclear if there was a sharp agenda to make Xander suffer less. In fact, I know for a fact, one idea Joss played with was, making Xander gay and killing him off. And that also would have been very polarizing, but there we go. So, yeah, it's really shocking news. I mean, we knew he was suffering a lot and had many medical issues, but it is still stunning that at a relatively young age he is dead. And unfortunately, he's joining Michelle, who also had many medical difficulties and died a few years ago. It's all very shocking and sad because, again, these are relatively young performers. And I'm getting older. I'm not as old as Nicholas, but I'm getting up there, and it's just shocking how rapidly your life can end. So, again, I don't want to whitewash his very real flaws, but I don't want to understate his talents or when he was a good guy. Rest in peace, Nicholas. We'll be debating Xander and you for a very long time to come. And there we are.